Welcome to StarMemoirs, your destination for unforgettable celebrity legacies. Our first news is this: the complicated reality of John F. Kennedy Jr. and Carolyn Bessette's tragic love story. Carolyn Bessette didn't say yes when John F. Kennedy Jr. first proposed to her. She didn't say no, either. But the 29-year-old Calvin Klein publicist, who had been dating New York's most eligible bachelor for about a year, after several years of getting the runaround, wasn't sure that she was ready for what marrying him would entail. Namely, a merging of lives that would require a daunting amount of self-sacrifice, not even including the matter-of-fact assault on her privacy. Hence all the fodder for the upcoming Ryan Murphy-produced American Love Story, which doesn't premiere until next year but has already courted controversy for its aesthetic and sheer existence, let alone whatever its dramatization of JFK Jr. and Carolyn's doomed romance will ultimately entail. Carolyn had spent enough time with John's family at their Hyannisport compound to know that there was no exaggerating the legend behind the name, a family technically made up of flesh and blood just like any other but which had embedded itself in the fabric of American culture over the greater part of the 20th century. And she wasn't bowled over by the Kennedy bond. Rather, the clannishness was a turnoff. And what would become a point of contention for the rest of their lives. Carolyn didn't particularly enjoy spending holidays and weekends with his sprawling family on Cape Cod, where their comings and goings were formally presided over by surviving matriarch Ethel Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy's widow, born in White Plains, New York, and raised in posh Greenwich, Connecticut, by her mother and orthopedic surgeon stepfather. Carolyn was hardly outclassed, but she still felt like an outsider. And on the beach of Hyannisport, she witnessed John being a cog in the Kennedy machine, rather than the dashing man about town he was in New York. Independent and confident on her own, being around the Kennedys made the 5'10" beauty feel small and insecure. "We don't do insecurity very well," John told his childhood friend Gustavo Perda, whose mother, longtime Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis aide Providencia Paredes, was close to the young couple. "That's definitely not on the Kennedy menu." But red flags aside, Bessette was in love. They only had a few more years together, but the time that they did have remains the stuff of legend. How did John F. Kennedy Jr. and Carolyn Bessette meet? John met Carolyn in 1992 when she was summoned to oversee a VIP Calvin Klein fitting for the former first son. He was instantly smitten and she played it real cool. Early on, he would be frustrated. Attorney Brian Steele, who met John when they both worked in the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, recalled in the 2018 ABC News special The Last Days of JFK Jr. He would say, "I called her and she hasn't called me back." And John did not like that. Gustavo told People in 2014 that Carolyn didn't think he was serious. He couldn't believe she turned him down. It had never happened before. Obviously she did eventually start calling him back. She was exactly the kind of girl I imagined would date someone like John Kennedy Jr., John's former executive assistant Rosemary Terenzio wrote in her 2012 book Fairy Tale Interrupted, and she intimidated the hell out of me. When she first met Carolyn, though, Rosemary could tell she was different from the typical gorgeous girls you see around Manhattan. She wasn't trying too hard. She wasn't trying at all. But she was acutely aware of who John was. "I kept having to say, snap out of it, he's just a guy," Carolyn told the future Carol Radziwill, née DeFalco, who was about to marry John's cousin and best friend Anthony Radziwill in August 1994. John had romanced the likes of Sarah Jessica Parker, Madonna, and Daryl Hannah, but by the mid-90s the crown prince of the fallen kingdom of Camelot did want a true partner by his side. He was at least partly motivated to take that next step by grief. His mother, who he was extremely close to, died in May 1994 and, in the summer of 1995, Anthony was given a dire prognosis when the testicular cancer he successfully battled in the 1980s returned. So, after a year of being with Carolyn, he was ready to seize the day, personally and professionally. About 3 weeks after People's Sexiest Man Alive circa 1988 popped the question over 4th of July weekend on Martha's Vineyard, Carolyn did finally accept. That September, with his fiancée by his side, John announced the launch of his glossy magazine George, a publication he envisioned would uniquely meld the worlds of politics and celebrity. Cindy Crawford, dressed as George Washington, photographed by Herb Ritz, famously graced the cover of the inaugural October/November 1995 issue. It felt like a victory not just for John, but for Carolyn. Richard Bradley, who served as executive editor at George's Richard Blow, was quoted in J. Randy Taraborelli's 2019 book The Kaye'S. She was excited about John, about his drive and determination and the fact that he'd found something that gave him purpose. She wanted to be with him the whole way. When you were with them, Richard continued, you felt John had really put forth a new power couple in the family, and there had been a lot of them, like Jack and Jackie, Bobby and Ethel, Sarge and Eunice, Shriver. John had always had a thing about the Kennedy power couples of the past, and this was how he wanted to view himself and Carolyn. So, I guess one could say that Carolyn was becoming the woman behind the man, and John was happy and proud about it. But importantly for Carolyn, John wasn't too old-fashioned. I see what goes on in this family, and it scares me, she admitted to her friend Stuart Price, according to the Kaye'S. He reminded her that John was different, to which she replied, it's a good thing, too. I know myself and I'm definitely not that pathetic Kennedy wife who'll stay home with the kids while her husband is out screwing around. No. I'm that pissed off Kennedy wife who'll be in prison because she took matters into her own hands. American Idol music supervisor Robin Kaye killed in suspected double homicide. The American Idol family has lost one of its own. Robin Kaye, a music supervisor for 15 seasons of the singing competition series, and her husband Thomas DeLuca, a songwriter and musician, were discovered murdered in their Los Angeles home July 14, the LAPD confirmed to NBC News. Both were 70 years old. Police officials confirmed to E! News that officers performed a requested welfare check at the couple's home July 14 and discovered one male and one female victim who were suffering from possible gunshot wounds. The Los Angeles Fire Department was called to the scene, where they pronounced the victims deceased. Authorities also confirmed to E! News that there is currently no motive, but an investigation is ongoing. As a result, a suspect is currently in custody, a law enforcement source confirmed to NBC News. Law enforcement sources reportedly told TMZ that Kaye and DeLuca were both shot in the head and found in different rooms of the home. According to the sources, the home was not ransacked, so the deaths don't appear to be the result of a burglary. The sources also told the outlet that they were called to the home on July 10 due to an unidentified, and potentially armed, suspect who was seen trying to gain entry. The officers who responded to the scene allegedly found no signs of forced entry and searched the property before leaving. Officers noted that it's unclear if this incident is related to the double homicide. E! News has reached out to reps for American Idol for comment and has not yet heard back. In addition to being an award-winning music supervisor on Idol, Kaye served in the same role on the Jimmy Fallon-created series Lip Sync Battle, which delivered viral moments such as Tom Holland's rain-soaked performance of Rihanna's Umbrella and his fiancée Zendaya's rendition of Bruno Mars' 24K Magic. Kaye also worked as the music supervisor for multiple iterations of the Miss Universe and Miss USA pageants, as well as the annual NAACP Image Awards. After news of Kaye and DeLuca's tragic deaths, American Idol shared their heartbreak. We are devastated to hear of Robin and her dear husband, Tom's, passing, a spokesperson for the series said in a statement to Deadline. Robin has been a cornerstone of the Idol family since 2009 and was truly loved and respected by all who came in contact with her. Robin will remain in our hearts forever and we share our deepest sympathy with her family and friends during this difficult time.